Hello, gang. Welcome to First Down Playbook, Youth Football Chalk Talk, show number 2. This is a place where we come in each week, Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern, talk a little youth football, show you a couple offensive formations, maybe a little bit about defense. But the main thing we try to get done here is give you an opportunity to check in and ask questions. And the questions, they can be a little bit of whatever you want them to be. If we can help you, we will. The way we like to look at it is, if you've got all the answers, it's probably not a place that you need to be. But if you've got questions, we'll try to get them answered. And if we can't, we'll look it up and try to get back to you during the week. So before we get started, just a couple things. Every week you come in here, you see you're on the community website right here or the feed. It comes directly into the First Down Playbook website. But if you go over here, we have a coaches community site. And as you can see, each and every day, we do a little bit of something. Some of it's youth football, some of it's flag football, some of it's varsity, could be NFL or college related. So, be sure to go over there and check it out. And you'll also see at the very top, we have a very strong presence in social media, whether it be Twitter, Facebook, and particularly YouTube. So we'll put the links into the mailing and the email that we send you after this. So let's go ahead and get started. We go in here. Let's take a look at our 2 youth football offensive formations we're going to cover tonight, and they're very similar. You coaches that like to spread it out, don't panic. We're going to come back with shoot and some other spread out things later. But this week we want to talk about power eye and tight wishbone. And the first thing that you can see as you're looking right here is that both of them have 3 backs in the backfield. And so obviously from a personnel standpoint, we'll open up the power eye here and let you look at the wide assortment of plays that we have in youth First Down Playbook for this. But as you can see, we've actually got a wide out in it just to spread it out a little bit. But you got 3 backs. You've got the 3 back, which is a strong back, your 4 back, which is a full back, and your 2 back, which is a tailback. We got a tight end offset to the right in the normal formation, but obviously you could flip that. And so we're going to take a look at a couple option plays, actually. But just want to talk a little bit, just want to open the play up before we do that. And let me go back here. Just want to open up one of the power eye plays and not talk as much about the play, but talk about the formation, talk about the personnel. So obviously, if you're going to run a power eye, all right, you need to look at the personnel that you would have, and that would be 3 backs, a tight end, and also a wide out in this situation right here. So you may be on a youth football team that you've got your quarterback is a good runner. Odds are that your quarterback is going to probably run as well, if not better, than they throw. So these 4 individuals right here are going to be probably wanting to get the football just like they are when they're older. So if you've got talent in your backfield, meaning you've got more backs than you've got football, then this is a good formation for you to look at, because there are ways of getting counters, even get the 3 back the ball, the 4 back the full back can get it on the belly. You can also have options where he's part of it, and obviously your 2 back, which is your tailback, can carry the ball. And then once again, when you have 3 backs in the backfield, your quarterback can be a part of an option game to give you a lot of different threats right there. Now, let's go back and take a look at the wishbone, because it's very similar before we start tying in 2 plays here. Now, the wishbone, we call it tight wishbone because that's exactly the way we've drawn it up. We've drawn it up with 3 backs in the backfield. You see a lot of variations of this these days with what they call the flex bone, with the guys on the line of scrimmage, and we've got that. We call it shoot. We'll talk about that later, but this is just your common 2 tight ends, all right, with 3 backs in the backfield. And the wishbone has the 4 back or the fullback being very close to the quarterback, all right? And that's so that you can have a quick hitting dive with your 4 back. You also have the ability to really have a mirrored offense. There's not anything that you do to the right, you can do to the left. And as you can see, it's totally mirrored with your offense. So if you wanted to dive your 4 back to the right and have your 2 back load and your 3 back be the pitch guy, you can do it. And then you could also do it the other way, have your 4 back to the left and have a load over here with a 3-back and then a 2-back the other way. So those are some things just to think about. And then obviously the personnel comes right back into it again, to where you're talking about having a lot of backs on your football team. So these are the two formations that, once again, I want to talk about here from the offensive side. So let's go over here. We created a playbook. Let me go back here to the playbook area. And I want to talk about just an option and a load option and how you can put stress on the defense. And actually what we did was both of these plays can be run out of either formation. But let's just take a look at the dive option, all right? And we drew them up against a 5-3 this week. Obviously, you can edit it and do whatever you want to with it. So let's come in here and we will look at this deal here. Now, so this is the dive option to the right, all right, out of the power I. And as you can see, what you're doing is you're going to double team the nose. You're double teaming the 5 technique right here, the head up defender on the tackle, and you're pushing up the next level. Now, you'll notice that the way we draw it with the tight end coming straight up. And that's because you have to anticipate that once the quarterback opens this way, and that's why we draw the plays the way we do. We draw them up with the linebackers flowing, because you're actually going to get the flow. So this is why we'll ensure the edge right here, the double team on the tackle, and then push up to the next level and pick off this mic right here. Now, the same thing goes for your guard and your center. They're going to double team the nose back up to the backside wheel. And the big thing to know is that you must not allow penetration. If you can get moving on this tackle and moving on this nose, then you're going to have a good play. And the best thing that you can do is take care of that first before you coach your guard in this case, or your tight end in this case, to come up next level. Now, as far as the backfield goes, what you're going to end up doing is quarterbacks will take the snap, open to the option side, and he is going to ride this fullback, all right? Now, they're going to mesh. That's where the quarterback will take the ball and put it out into the fullback's belly. The fullback will have his inside arm up, and it's important, and we won't get into too much of the technique right here, but the fullback does not take the ball from the quarterback. The quarterback needs to give it to the fullback. Now, it's critical that you have speed right here, because what you're doing is you're putting this end right here in a situation where they have to play either the dive or the quarterback. And so that right now is what the quarterback, when he comes out, he's not even going to be looking at this fullback. The quarterback is going to put the ball in the belly of the fullback, all right, and he's going to look at this end right here. If the end crashes down inside, all right, then the quarterback is going to keep the football, because the end is crashing, all right, to tackle the dive back or the 4-back here. If the end does not crash or stays outside, then the quarterback will hand the ball to the 4, and the 4 will get upfield. Obviously, you're looking at, if the end crashes inside, the Sam backer is going to scrape to the outside. So you've got the Y sealing off the Mike backer. You got the Sam backer over the top, and the 3-back will actually be on him. And you've got a great shot for your dive back to just hit air right here on the inside part of the veer. Now, as far as if you get the crash right here, now the quarterback is going to stay outside. This 3-back is going to take a path right at your read key, all right? The end is what we call the read key right here. So the end is going to think that they're getting reached or loaded by this 3-back. That should help that end widen, all right? So really what you're looking for is you would like to hand this ball off to the fullback or the 4-back if at all possible. And then you're going to, like I said, get the 3-back up on this Sam backer. Now, at the ages that we're talking about, and I'm talking about 8, 9, I don't know, maybe 10, the 2-back to me would be a total decoy. Now, obviously, the defense does not know that. And so the defense, they better have somebody on the pitch. And so the corner will be that person. So right now, really, all of the options lie right here with your 1 and 4. And you can see we got that highlighted in white. So as the ball comes outside and the quarterback keeps it, you've got your cornerback defending the pitch. You've got your end crashing down on the dive. You've got your 3-back loading up on the Sam backer. And you've got your Y on the mic, and you've got your guard up on the wheel. So you really have, or should end up with your quarterback, all right, up on the free safety if everybody executes this full speed. Now, what we want to do is go back, like we said, into the playbook and take a look at another play that we marry with this, okay? So we'll go to my playbooks again. And we go down here to the playbook we made tonight. And this time what we did is, and we ran it out of the Wishbone, but as you can see, very similar, all right? And now we run what we call a quarterback load versus the same defense, just for simplicity. Now, you come in and you can, take any of these plays that you want and look at them versus a 6-2, a 4-4, a 4-4 split, a 5-3, and a 5-3 bear. But now you're looking at this play, and if you're the defense, it looks exactly like the play we just ran, right? The veer, inside veer option. Now, this play right here, though, is predicated that your quarterback is going to take the ball and get on the outside edge. Now, so this fullback can even cheat up. The fullback can cheat up even more than they were the last time, and they need to hit it. I mean, they need to hit it hard right off the double team of the tight end and the tackle. Now, you'll see that we don't even have the tight end coming off on the zone block in this case. We need a pure double team and get great movement on that tackle. Your fullback will hit it, all right, and then get north-south, and they may end up cutting off the backside backer or the Mike backer just with their path right here. So if you look at it, now you've got your Sam backer over the top, all right, and this would be a great play if the end were crashing, right? The end kept crashing on your dive on the other play we just looked at. So now what's going to happen is you've got this two-back is going to load the end, all right? They'll load the end. If the end crashes down inside, you can see we've got it drawn. They can even go up second level on the Sam. But if the end stays outside, all right, or just plays it normal, tries to get his hands and squeeze that tight end down, your two-back is just going to load that in, all right? Because if the end stays outside, somebody had to stay inside, and it was probably the Sam backer. So now your quarterback is just going to get out on the edge and keep the football. Obviously, the three-back is still going to execute a tight pitch look out here, and your corner should be outside. So this is just a way of predicated quarterback really sweep or load to tie into the other play. And obviously, you can run this play both ways. And like we said before, you can run this play and have the four-back go this way and the three-back be the load back and the two-back be the ball carrier this way. So it gives you a lot of options with just two plays there. But we highly recommend that you run both of these plays in conjunction. Now, we're not saying that you should run the power eye and the wishbone, tight wishbone, but you can run both of these plays out of one of the formations. And that's one of the questions we got last week was, how many formations should I run? How many different plays should I run out of the formations? Our recommendation is to run one or two formations and to run similar plays out of each, okay? Now, let's take a look at the defense over here that we want to talk about tonight, 4-4 base. And the first thing you're going to notice is that you've got the 4-4, all right? And we've got it with a three technique to what we would call the strong side. We declare the tight end to be the strong side. So we've got a three technique, and a three technique is an outside shade on the guard right here. And the end is in what we call 7 technique. Now, you've got your A gap protected back over here with your two-eye tackle and a 5 technique. Now, it looks very similar to what we talked about last week with the 6-2. But what you've got in this situation right here is you've got 4 backers that are off the ball a little bit. And to be perfectly honest, what they can do is they'll help you with some option responsibilities like the play we just drew up on offense. So let's just talk about gap responsibility first. We've got this end in a 5 technique, all right, and they are C-gap responsible. This will backer right here plays a hip. And what a hip technique does is they will still be outside of the 5 technique, and they'll try to contain this football if the flow comes this way. If flow goes away, that will backer will fold, all right? The end will be the contained player, and then the chase player down the line of scrimmage with the ball away. The will backer will fold and be responsible for cutback in this B gap right here. And now if the ball gets past that B gap, now they become a scrape, all right, to chase player. And now the tackle, like we said, will be an A gap player. Here, you've got your backside backer is going to be slow to go and check this B gap with ball away. And you've got the 3 technique tackle right here in the B gap and a 7 technique end. So you've got the ability now where you've got really 4 fast flow linebackers. The Will and the Sam kind of mirror each other. You've got the Sam hugged a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage right here because you've got a tight end, and you've got your Will backer a little bit off just because trying to split the difference between this receiver right here on the open inside. Now, as far as coverage responsibility goes, we've got the Will backer will take the first running back out to this side. The inside backer to the weak side, open inside, will take the second back out to this side. If all 3 backs went to that side, then yes, this backer right here would pick up the last one. Now, if you get a split flow deal, one this way, and the fullback this way, now you've got the Will on this one, the Sam on that one. This inside backer to the strong side would take the fullback that way, and now your inside backer to the weak side becomes an inside, really a free, slow to go guy. All right, and then your free safety obviously is free to the middle of the field. So we got a question here. We actually got 2 of them. For 9-10-year-olds, it seems too hard or slow to make the strong call. Can we use wide instead of can use wide instead to speed up alignments? Okay, if I think I understand the question that you're talking about, let's see, too hard or too slow to make the strong call. If you can send us, I don't know if you can, if you're still listening, send me a little bit more definition on that. I think I understand what you're listening to, or what you're saying. The way we would make a strength call here is really pretty easy. All right. What you're going to do is, if you've got a balanced formation like you do here, we make the strength call to the tight end, because what we want to do is we want to set the front, particularly in youth football. What we want to try to do is stop the run first. Okay. Now, if you wanted to set your formation or set your front to the open inside, that would be perfectly fine. If you come out and you've got a balanced formation, let's say that if you were to take this wide receiver right here and move them in, and you had a perfectly balanced formation, then what I would say is that you would just pick a side, make a right or a left call. It shouldn't matter. Or you can make the call to the field, okay? Okay, so the question, I guess, is, does the 4-4 have a strong side? As you're looking at it, it really does, because you're looking at a 3 technique to the strong side. You got a 3 and a 7 technique, and you've got a little bit more leverage over here, all right? Now, let's go back, and we'll go back into the regular 4-4 defense. And we'll take a look at that and try to show you what we're talking about. So here's your 4-4. And you can see we've got it drawn up against a bunch of different formations. So let's open up just a balanced formation right here, a double wing. Okay, so even with the balanced up, okay, if you look right here, and you can see we've got a 3 technique and a 7 technique to what we would call the strong side, and we've got a 2-eye and a 5 and a 9 to the weak side. All right, we do it that way because of just the very question that you're asking. What we want to do is we want to actually get more leverage to the strength call, because as you get in a game, let's say, and our formations in youth football aren't drawn to scale for the field. But let's say you're on the left hash over here, all right, and they have all this field out here. Well, we want to make a right call there because you want to get a 3 technique to the field where you've got more area to defend, all right? And we want a 7 technique. Now, here's the part with your question that we want to answer. Your personnel, as far as the Sam and the Will and these 2 ends and these 2 tackles and these 2 linebackers and these 2 corners, in my opinion, they're absolutely mirrored personnel. I don't think it should matter if you've got a dominant player that you want to line up to the field, feel free to do so. But as you can see, the major difference in this 4-4 is that you're just trying to get a little bit more leverage out here to the field or to the side of the call. Now, as far as personnel goes, I don't know. Let's go back and take a look at a couple more. So the question, getting a lot of questions about, would we recommend a 4-4 with 8U? The answer to that is no. What we would recommend, if you're coaching 8 and under, is what we looked at last week. We would recommend a 6-2 with the variations you've got right here. Let's just open up the 6-2 and take a look at the difference, all right, and what we were just looking at with the 4-4 and the 6-2. If you've got an 8-year-old quarterback, trust me when I say, unless their name is Tom Brady Jr. or something like that, they're not going to be dominating the game with their arm. So what I would do if I were coaching against an 8-year-old, I would play a 6-2. Now you're looking at exactly what some of the questions are coming in. You have a mirrored defense across the board. You have 2 corners playing man coverage on the wings. In this case, you've got Wing and Sam playing crease technique. You got 2 7 technique ends and 2 eyes for your tackles. So everything about this defense is mirrored, very easy. But as you'll notice, you got man coverage backers on the tight ends. All right, you got corners on the wings, and your free safety is actually involved in the coverage on the running back. So you're committing 6 to the run right here. You got everybody covered, but at the same time, you're playing pure 0-man coverage. Now, I want to go back to the 4-4 because another question that came in was the question was asked, I think, about, I believe you're talking about a strong safety, right? There is no, let me see that question again. The strong safety comes down at, okay. There, with the 4-4 right here, there is no strong safety, okay? So that's the point. With this defense right here, and we're talking about younger players, and we've got it drawn up right here. We really only play with a free safety, and it is a pure free safety in 4-4. But you're playing with 4 linebackers. You're playing with 4 down, and 2 ends, 2 tackles, and 4 linebackers. Now, we call it a Sam, a Will, and 2 inside. This would be the weak inside, strong inside, and your 2 corners. So if you had a strong safety, if you were going to play with a strong safety, to me, the strong safety would be probably just this strong side backer right here. And if you wanted to just call that a strong safety, you could. But if you're asking me and you're playing younger players and a quarterback that can't take the game over with their arm, then I would have them all up here near the box and be playing man coverage. But I still think you're in pretty good shape right here because you're playing man out here, you're playing man everywhere else. And then once again, in this situation right here, both backs go weak. You've got 2 backers on that back, and you also have another backer that can play in the hole right here or add on to the pass rush. If the backs split with their routes, the Will would take the one to this side, the strong side backer would take the one to this side, and this inside backer would rush. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind. I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to edit this play. And if I'm the coach, all right, and you're the guy that, or the person that's calling in right now, and you want to take this backer and you don't want to put your strong safety right up in there, it'd be very easy to come in and edit this play right here. Make this your Mike backer. Really keep the same rules if you wanted to. You take this backer right here, make them strong safety, tell them they got the first running back out to this side, and you're off and running. Now, I definitely would keep, and I believe you would too, keep the strong safety over here to the tight end and the wing side, on this side over here, because you need help with the run more than you do the weak side, okay? Now, want to show you one quick thing. We got a couple more questions coming in. All right, so the question is it man free with 1 under? Well, it can be. It can be with the 4-4. All right, let's put the strong safety back in here. We'll put the strong safety back up in where we had the inside backer. So what you've got, once again, and I was I know we have a little delay on the system. That's kind of what I was just talking about. So if you take this fullback, move him out here, and the will backer takes him, and you take this running back, and he runs on a swing, and your strong safety or backer takes him. All right, so now you're right. So you've got this backer right here. It all depends on what you want to teach him. All right, if you want to teach him to play free in the hole, you can have a deep free player in your free safety, and you can have what you call a hole player. Some people call it a rat in the hole. This Mike backer can look and rob anything underneath. Now, another thing that you can do is if you get the will backer out on that one and the strong safety or inside backer takes the other side, is tell your Mike backer, if both backs split, you rush the quarterback. All right, so now you get a 5-man rush anytime that you have a pass. If you were to get both backs out this way, your Mike backer would take the second one, and now your strong safety or backer would add on as a rusher here. Same thing. Both backs out this way. Now you've got your safety, and your Mike backer would take them, and now your will backer could rush. So to answer your question, what is the coverage? I definitely would say play man. Now, it's just a matter of with your 4-4, now that you've got your free safety free behind it, what do you want to do if you're one person that's not covering underneath? You could either play a hole player or add them on to be a 5th rusher. Now, I know some of you have rules where you can't blitz and things like that, so you have to take that into account. All right, how about a split 4-4 defense, someone asked. Would split 4-4 defense be age appropriate? Now, what they're asking is this, and we draw this up from the other side of the ball, and let's just go ahead. We'll just take this play right here. Well, let's exit out of this one. We'll take another play. We'll go ahead and leave and just take another fresh play. And what we believe they're asking about a split 4-4 is kind of, they used to call it a split 6 defense. It can be done right here too. And that's when you play 2-3 techniques and you play really 2 6s or 2 9s, however you want to do it. So let me get back out here to 4-4 base. And it's fine to do that. The thing that you have to keep in mind is that you always have to keep in mind just gap responsibilities. And that's why before we get out of here tonight, I'm going to take you over and show you a brand new area that we've created on First Down Playbook for your youth defense. That it's terminology, but it's also just how we piece together the defense. So let's go in and take one of the formations we haven't looked at a lot. Let's go. We'll go right here to. Don't want to go wing T quite. Let's go to this trips, and we'll edit. Go over here to edit the play. So the question that we got is, what about a split 4 defense? All right, and we didn't put shade in there. We should. All right, let me go ahead and put that in. So this is the way we've got it drawn up, like we've talked about. You know, we pick the side that we want to get the leverage, meaning a 3 and a 7. A split 4 defense would be when you have 2-3 techniques. Now, if you do that, a lot of people will play it either with a head up 6 technique end out here, or even a 9 technique. We'll keep it in a 6. We'll move this will backer off right here. Let them still play man coverage, but we will move this end right here out to a 6. So this is what we would call a split 4 defense. All right. Still got the same coverage responsibilities, but now you've got 2 ends and a 6, and now you've got 2-3 techniques. Now, if you do that, you have to understand that you've got two A-gap players, okay? Kendall, just hold that question. We got them coming in pretty fast right now. I just want to answer this right here. So the way I would play it is I would stack your 3 techniques and maybe cheat to the 3-man side out here. Still the same deal. All right, they both got the running back. If the back goes that way, the weak side backer's got him. The back goes that way, the strong side backer's got him. But the key part is on the run game is if you get a running play this way, this linebacker has got to be slow to go. Because if this linebacker takes off and ends up over here in a strong A gap, and this backer here starts taking off, and he thinks he's got to get over here because, he's got an end and a 6. And, sometimes the end, you're talking about young kids or young players playing C to D gap. That'll be hard. You could actually leave that end, right, in that C gap. But either way, that backer's gone, and this linebacker thinks he's got to get over here, and this tackle's up the field. This end is backside, and this back cuts back into that A gap. You got issues now. So the split defense is very, very common and very good. In fact, we've got it drawn up quite a bit, right? But the key for a split defense is when the flow is away, your backside backer has got to be very slow and make sure that the ball can't come back into that backside A gap, either one, because that's his responsibility, okay? All right, so let's go back. Have we answered the question at the top yet? Do you have any diamond formation sets? All right, if you're asking, have we defended any diamond? And I'm assuming if you call it diamond, you're talking about 4 guys in the backfield. We do not have that right now. Trying to think of what you would be talking about. Try to give me, if you're the one that asked that question, try to give me an idea of what you're talking about. Are you talking about 4 backs in the backfield, or are you talking about where would the quarterback be lined up, I guess, so that you'd have a legal formation? Not sure what you mean there. Let's go to this question while you're following up on that. Who is your contained player in the split 4-4? All right, so we're looking at it right here. All right, so you got to split. Now, it gets into what I was just talking about. If you play your ends in a split 6 or split 4, all right, most of the time at a higher level of football, you're playing that end, and you're telling that end that they're playing C to D gap. So what you're telling them is they're going to knock the tight end back, and they're going to kind of 2 gap and play this inside to out, all right? Really, really, really hard for younger players. So if you were to ask me, I would take the end and do one of 2 things. In a split 6, I would take him and I would put him either in the 7 technique and tell him to play the C gap. And now you've got to tell your Sam backer that they are the contained player. And that's what you're asking about. Now, the problem with that is if that tight end releases, guess who's got him? All right, the Sam backer's got him. So now if the Sam backer runs with the tight end, if it's some type of play action or whatever, now your end who is in that C gap, now they become the contained player. So I hope you understand that contain can change based on what the offense does. Now, let's look at another way you could play contain over here. You could take the end, particularly in a split 4 defense, because you've got a 3 technique out here, you could take the end and widen them and play a 9 technique. Obviously, if you did that, now you're going to tuck your Sam backer inside, right? And your Sam backer still has the tight end man with man coverage. And now anything that comes over this way, now your end is contained. So if that tight end releases on a pass, your Sam backer's got him, all right? And now your end would be a contained pass rusher. If it's some type of play action or maybe your tight end just released, that tight end knows he's got to squeeze any of the runs. But 2 different ways you can play it over here. There's not a right and a wrong. There might be a better when you're talking about, particularly young players. And don't forget that personnel comes into it. If you're sitting there and you've got a really quick defensive end out here, then but they're not really very big, you might want to just be careful about giving them too much of all the edge containing responsibility out here, because if this guy releases, all right, and they block down, they double right here on this 3 technique, that center blocks back, and you get the pull, then you're going to have, you got somebody that's going to have to wrong arm that, squeeze it, because you're telling them contain, but you're going to, if you got a smaller kid out here, it could be an issue. So I hope that answers your question about how you can play it. But essentially, it gets down to your outside backer and your end. You have to be coordinated. So the 2 parts about this, and let's just exit out of it so we get a clean picture here. I'm not saving any of these pictures, obviously. But the key parts about the split 4 is that what you want to do is you want to make sure that you understand where you're weak. anytime you run a defense, it's great to understand where you're strong, but you want to understand where you're weak too. And where you're weak here is if you've got both of your tackles split out here, you're weak right here in the middle. All right. You've got two A gaps that are open. And so that's okay. That's okay. But anytime the ball starts away from your backer, whichever way it starts, the backside backer needs to be very slow to go because they're going to have to play this bad boy, all right, A gap to A gap. Hope that answers your questions. Now, as the other questions come in, I want to take a moment and show you a part of our defensive playbook area that I think we just put it in this week. All right, we'll come back and answer any questions that we got. All right, so the part I'm talking about, if you go in the first down playbook, youth defense. We've got about, you can see up here, we got Google Hangouts, we got YouTube, we got everything running. So that's why we've got a little bit slower thing going on. But so if you go to youth defense, and you can see when you open it up that you've got all the defense. We talked about the 6-2 last week and the 4-4. But here you're going to see where we added a youth defense terms. Very important. And we're going to continue to add to this as we go. And you can edit this. You can actually take these and go in. As you can see, these little pencils by each one. You can edit it. But what we've tried to do is go in and give you a lot of the same terminology and answer a lot of the same questions that we're getting tonight. Meaning that, okay, coach, why do you call this player what? Let's just go in and let's take a look at this one right here, the third page. You keep talking about an A gap, coach, and a B gap and a C gap. What is that? And so I know some of you are out there scoffing. Of course, everybody knows what an A gap is, a B gap. Not necessarily. And it's if you've never coached football before, then there's no reason you would know that. So we want to point out that this part of our youth football defense is somewhere that you want to definitely get and take a look at. And once again, if you're someone that has coached, this is what we were just talking about, right? Go to sample defensive fit. And here it is. You see me talking all the time about check the A gap inside out. It's very important that you teach, and we talked about this last week. You have to teach alignment, then you have to teach assignment, and then you need to teach gap responsibility, ball away, ball to, pass, coverage, and that's what we do in this section right here. So we want to make sure that you go take a look at that. Now we got two questions. All right, we're going to get to both your questions here in just a second. But I want to point out that I want to go right here just for a second because we've had people that we're a little over halfway through. Some people may have left, or we got a lot of people coming and going. This week, we've got a 20% deal on anything on first down playbook. All right, Chalk Talk 611. Now, got a bunch of calls last week, after the fact and everything. We're trying to be pretty strict, to be fair to everybody. You've got from right now until 9 o'clock tomorrow night, and all you do is you go in, and what it is 20% off youth and varsity. As you can see, it's $40 off flag. If you're interested in flag ball, and we have a lot of flag coaches, $30 off. Premium is everything. It's flag and the youth and varsity. And as you can see, it's $50 off. So I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, and we'll come back and talk about it at the end. But use this promo code. We don't advertise this anywhere else, okay? And so we're going to make sure that we talk about this before we leave. Now, got two questions here that I want to hit and try to get answered, and then we want to talk about a few other things. All right. Do you have any, let's see, a running back on each side of the quarterback, talking about the diamond formation again, and the running, okay, all right. You're talking about an inverted wishbone. Okay. Now, I don't know if you're talking about on the offensive side or if you're talking about defending it. I'm going to approach it like you're talking about defending it. And if you're talking about that as an offensive side, we'll come back and try to cover that later. But let's go youth defense, and let's go 4-4. Let's open up one of these other deals right here too. As you can see, with all of our defenses, I mean, we give you, here's a slant, to the tight end strength, a TNT, we call it back weak, an inside pressure, an outside pressure, what we call sting, a free safety pressure, and even cover two. If you want to play, maybe your rules say you have to play cover two. That would be the only reason I would play cover two in youth ball. But let's go. Let's open slant. And I want to look at what our caller is calling diamond. So because we were talking about defense, once again, I'm going to assume that maybe you're talking about defending it. But if I go in here and edit it, what the caller or the person sending the message in is talking about is this right here. Talking about it's an inverted wishbone, and I'm guessing that you've got your quarterback here, which makes sense why you would call that a diamond. So you really got your quarterback in a pistol. You've got, it wouldn't be a fullback, but you got a deep back and two halfbacks. If I were defending it, I would defend it exactly like the wishbone. I mean, you start looking at how can an offense hurt you? Okay, there are more perimeter things that can happen here, all right, than inside football plays. If you've got that quarterback here and your fullback here, I'm worried about a dive inside. I'm worried about the option play that we talked about. I'm worried about getting loaded inside and getting the ball outside. Now, if I've got this guy back here and the quarterback here, okay, I'm not as worried about the inside part of the game right here. You got a lot of people and no real quick threat in your A gaps. So if I'm defending this, what I'm defending is I'm getting people out on the perimeter, okay? And so I'm going to get guys, and we'll stick with this right here because we've got a slant defense in. But to answer your question, I would make sure that I would have people on the edges and keep everything inside, because what you don't have is you don't have the ability to have a quick hitting play. Sure, if you run this offense, there are going to be people say, well, coach, you still got the same thing. You got an ISO here, all right? I got an ISO the other way. I can do a lot of different things here. But really, it doesn't hit nearly as quickly. Now, one of the things that you would have to get into, this would be your tailback. I mean, this is what I would call it, your tailback. And so, your backers would end up keying the near back. And so if it's near back, start it downhill, then once again, the big thing I would do is try to make sure never let this happen. Never got outflanked, because once again, we don't want to test to have all the answers here, all right? And this is a bit of a different duck that we're talking about. But I wouldn't be worried about the inside part as much. Where we were talking about before, and maybe this would be this might be good to have a split six, to have outside leverage across the board. And I don't know if this person would be inside or not when you're playing them with that. But the biggest way I would answer that question is I would try to keep everything inside. Now, you do obviously have your quarterback that is a runner also, but I still don't even see the quarterback as being an inside threat. All the threats appear to me to be on the outside. All right. Are the defensive ends ideally bigger kids or smaller, quicker in the four? I think I was talking about that the last time. If I'm playing my end in a 4-4 and I'm playing them in a 7 technique, they need to be a bigger kid, because that might be a bigger kid lined up over top of him in a tight end position. All right. So if I had a smaller kid, I'd line them up on the outside, all right, and play a 9 technique. Let them play with their quickness, like we talked about before. All right. If I had a bigger kid, I let them play in a 7 technique. Now, talk a little bit about how you play that 7 technique. A great way of playing the 7 technique is to line the player up in the 7, but let them read the tackle. If that tackle blocks down, let that end shoot. If that tackle comes to them, all right, tell that end to stay outside. Make sure they press. They just want to press and stay in that C gap. But to answer your question, in the 4-4, if you're going to play your sandbackers outside and your end inside, better be a bigger kid. Or doesn't have to be. There's anomalies to everything. Probably should be a bigger kid. you'll put your Sam backer inside, like we showed before, all right, and have your end outside, they can be a smaller, quicker kid. And I'll finish by saying this. If you've got smaller players up front and they're defensive linemen, that's when you want to get into some things like this. Try to get some keys on your offense. Let your linebackers give a rip or a Liz call and rip your smaller defensive linemen. Try to get them going to the play. Just make sure that you keep your linebacker slow to go backside, because if everybody up front's heading to the right, you got to be careful for the cutback once again, and that's your backside linebacker and your backside contained player's responsibility. Okay, just a couple more questions here, and we need to wrap it up. Would you stack your 4-4 defense to create confusion for the offensive line? That's exactly what we've just been talking about, right? But let me get out of this slant defense, because I'm probably just confusing everybody with that. Let's get back and take a look at the base. You saw where I've just been talking about really a couple different versions. If you go to our youth offense, you'll see we draw up our plays against what we call 4-4 and a 4-4 split. And really the 4-4 has the outside backers on the outside. So let me open up one right here. I'm going to just open up a balanced formation. Let's just open up shoot right here, because you could get, I think 4-4 is a good defense to play against shoot, because you got more help with coverage right there. Now, so as you can see, the way we've initially got this drawn, all right, we've got the linebackers outside and we've got the ends inside, okay? And so that's good, particularly in a situation like this, because you've got wing backs in a shoot formation, all right, that typically are either going to be ball carrier types. They're not going to be big bruiser types. All right, so you're probably in pretty good shape here. But let's edit this play. And so let's just say that we want to play some type of split, like we've been talking about tonight. And there's nothing wrong with that. You get out here with 3 techniques and widen your ends out here. Bring your wheel backer inside. Obviously, tuck that backer inside, because you need help in the A gap. Tuck this one inside a little bit. You can take this in, widen them, take the Sam backer, tuck them inside. So now, presto, you've got what you just asked me about, right? You've got 4 backers, a split front, and you wouldn't have to have a split front. You could play this. You could play one of them in a 3, one of them in a 2-eye if you wanted to, all right? But you still got what you're talking about. You went from really what could almost look like a 6-2 with hip backers with your Sam and Will. Now you've got a 4-4 stack. Now, to answer your question is, this to me is, you don't have to be real complicated on defense either. You don't have to play 9 defenses to be good. If you wanted to play a 4-4 and mix it in with a 4-4 split, or like you said, maybe stack your linebackers right here. I'm going to take the coverage responsibility out of it, because I think this is what you're asking, and I think it's perfectly fine. I think it's great. If you want to line your end up here and stack your Sam there, line that end up there, all right? Take the coverage responsibility off of this wheel and stack your wheel behind this end. And really, you could even do it with your inside guys. Now, prior to the snap of the ball, all right, you can either cheat your ends and your wheels to where you want them to be, or let's say the snap of the ball, you want to get your ends inside, and let's get your Sam outside for contain. But you wait for the ball to be snapped. Now, you want to make sure that they cheat to get there, because you want to make sure they get home. Now, on the other end, we'll do it the other way. So prior to the snap of the ball, or on the snap of the ball, now what you do over here, right? Your end stunts outside. He's still going to squeeze. He's not going to go crazy, get up the field, or create a lane over here. And now what happens is your backer, he can either pressure the quarterback, or what he can do is just step up and become an inside player, right? And read what's happening and play the run that way. Once again, you could do the same thing with your inside people. So to answer your question, I think that's a great little scheme as far as to disguise what you're doing. But you have to be careful. When the ball is snapped, Over here, that end better understand that they have contained, and that will better understand that they've got C-gap responsibility. Just like over here, that end better understand they've got C-gap responsibility, and that Sam backer's got contained. And the same thing in here, obviously, when you talk about flow to and away. So I hope that answers your questions about that. I think that's most of what we got tonight. Let's just go back. I want to show our youth coaches something that I think will really be helpful. Every first down playbook play that you get when you go in, let's go into the offensive section here for a second. Let's say you're a 4-4 defense, all right, and you're going to line up and you're going to play a tight wishbone team this week. All right, this might be the biggest thing that you get out of this thing tonight instead of listening to me talk. All right, so and you're playing a option team out of a wishbone and you're running a 4-4. So look at this. If I go in and I open up, I go into the wishbone part. All right, you go, Coach, why are you doing that? We're not running the wishbone. Our opponent is. If I come in here, all right, and I bring up a 4-4, let's say a 4-4, let's bring up a 4-4. And then I come in here and I edit that play variation. Every play in first down playbook is really 4 plays. I can flip that play horizontally, okay, but I can also flip that play vertically. So if I'm running a 4-4 defense right now, I'm taking this play and I would come in and start talking about option responsibilities to my defense. So I can be talking about, okay, yeah, I want to get my corner outside on pitch. And I can even come in, I can even add text to that. All right. Let all my players know that here's where my pitch player is. Color coded, whole deal with your players. And that way you can come in and start coaching up, you know, the fits, the who's got which gap, who's got who in man coverage. And you can even talk about the plays that you're going to see from your opposing offense. And I know, you know, a lot of youth coaches, you don't have the luxury of having the facilities and the overhead projectors and the meeting rooms and everything that they do in high school and college and obviously the NFL. But this is a neat little deal right here to where if you come in and you know how to use first down playbook and flip the plays over, you can come in and do a lot of things to help prepare your team for the looks that they're going to get. Same thing goes for your defense. For your offense. You could come in and flip the deal and make sure that your offense can see exactly what defenses they're going to get. All right, so let's wrap this thing up. Just want to go back and summarize real quick. Once again, we're not going to save the play. But here's where you're going to find it in first down playbook. If you go to youth offense, you'll see that we have covered over the past 2 weeks that we've covered double wing and jumbo, power eye, and tight wishbone. If you look now, there's a lot of similarities, but there's just enough difference in these formations to make the defense have to respect that. We'll come back next week and we're gonna spread it out a little bit for you coaches that are out there chomping at the bit to want to do that. Now, if you go to the defensive part of it, you're gonna see where we've covered a 4-4 and a 6-2. And once again, we don't have but 30 or 45 minutes here each night. If you go into either one of these, go in and take a look at some of the change-ups that you have to where, okay, they're hurting us inside. Let's get an inside blitz in case that happens. They're hurting us outside on contain. We got a question last week about how do I protect my corners on contain? Well, bringing a 4-4 outside blitz would be a good way to turn everything back inside to let your corners not have to tackle as much. So a lot of information in first down playbook. And obviously we don't have time to get to everything, but this is why you can come in and you can create your own playbooks. Now, I'm going to finish up by saying we're going to send you a little playbook. Kendall, when we're going to send out tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, we're going to send out a little playbook to you that has the plays that we talked about tonight, and it'll be a PDF version, but just a show of appreciation for everybody that attended tonight. Obviously, if you're a if you're a first down playbook member, then these are all in your playbook, and you can come in and that and about thousands more. You can come in and do with them what you want. All right, so let's finish up. Just want to thank you. We had a tremendous turnout last week. I have no idea what it was tonight, but all indications were it was going to be that, maybe more. And so just write this down. All right, Chalk Talk 611. If you use that code, talking about now until 9 o'clock tomorrow night Eastern time, all right, you get 20% off of all these products. So write it down, Chalk Talk 611. It'll be in the email tomorrow morning, but don't forget about it and call us up at 10 o'clock tomorrow night and say, Coach, I forgot, because that happened this past week, and just makes it hard on us to keep making exceptions. Now, we did have one lucky winner. We do this every week. AJ Jackson, if you're out there listening, you have won a free First Down membership for the 2019 football season. So you especially want to make sure you get in touch with us tomorrow by email or call us. What's our number, Kendall? It's 512
814
6158. 512 814 6158. Kendall's trying not to talk a lot tonight. So, all right. Well, anyway, I hope that helped a lot of you. Like I said, hey, what are we doing good? What are we doing bad? What can we do better? We don't have all the answers here. Never have acted like we do. So email us if there's something that we're not getting to. All you need to do is just email us or call us, and we'll try to do it better next week. So put us on your calendar and make sure that at 9 o'clock Eastern next Tuesday, tune in, and we'll hit 2 more offensive formations and also a youth defense.